Milei is part of it as well. And if you look at some of the recent policies Milei has floated, it's things like, yeah, we're going to get rid of the education ministry, but we're going to put Facebook in charge of educating the youth. Facebook, the same, company that has been, hated by conservatives for, censoring them and censoring speech. That's the one, that's the company you want to put in charge of like molding young minds. But I guess it makes sense if you look at it from the Peter Thiel perspective and why he was interested in putting Facebook on the map and having it become, what at least at one point was the dominant social network. It may not be in the US anymore, but it certainly is in Latin America. In the case of Milei, though, I just want to say that the play there, it seems to be, if you look at influential people in the Argentinian fintech space, and also this broader network that Mark and I have now a couple articles writing about. The plan there is to develop stablecoins backed by commodities, specifically in the case of Argentina, grain exports. So in that case, maybe he might get rid of the central bank even, or something like that at some point. But instead, you're going to have these stable coins tied to commodities, and whoever owns those commodities, which in Argentina, I can tell you, they are all oligarchs. A very small just like in every other Latin American country, it's a small group of oligarchs that have been in charge of those respective countries for a very long time. They own the commodities, and they're going to be basically your central bank replacement. Is that necessarily a better system? I mean, some people might argue that it is, but I think we should also, look critically at this stuff. And as far as what Mark said on the case of media goes, as far as subbing out alternative media for mainstream media, I think the most problematic aspect of that is that people didn't change their relationship with media when they made that switch from mainstream media to alternative media. What do I mean by that? Whatever the talking head that you're watching says, you just believe them and don't think critically, and you just, take what they say and believe it because this person that you trust said it. Right. And that's, what got us in a lot of trouble as a country with mainstream media. And now we've gone, a lot of these people have gone to alternative media or people that are seemingly independent and are, but their that same relationship with media continues. There hasn't been, maybe there's been a revolution in viewership from mainstream to alternative, but there has not been a revolution in, just believing whatever people say and critical thought and doing your own research, following up, checking their sources. And I think that really needs to happen as well, which is why, in my articles and in Mark too, we put hyperlinks everywhere so you can see the sources we had and, what we used. You can look at the sources for yourself and draw your own conclusions. And I think that is, people need to be responsible media consumers, and that shift unfortunately hasn't happened. And I think it really needs to.
Yeah. And you see it so much, especially, and that's why I'm so thankful, Marty, for a show like TFTC to have us on, is that, you see so many people that are sponsored or that have opportunity for brand deals, prevent certain type of content coming out that maybe is negative against certain companies or certain infrastructure. And you see so many talking heads in the Bitcoin space. And I don't really like to air dirty laundry, and I don't really like to attack people personally. Like when I wrote the Bitcoin dollar, it's specifically about the mechanisms, and it has almost no names in the book at all. There's very few people that I'm actually calling out specifically for building this. I think it was a lot more important to, understand how the mechanism works rather than like, hey, this guy works for this company, he's a prick. I'm not necessarily saying that. Now we're kind of starting to name some names because we have to, because everything's just accelerating. But I think it's really important to know that, a lot of the talking heads in this space are sponsored and their consent is purchased, and their manufacturing consent for other people. This whole idea of, banking the unbanked and all of this stuff is, Bitcoin and crypto, being this innately, empowering technology for the underprivileged. Well, no, actually, Bitcoin is so powerful and so crazy with what it is. It is what it is, that it empowers Microsoft, Citi, PayPal, Facebook executives as much as it does the unbanked guy in the global South. And I think that mechanism and that understanding is just completely not talked about, and by design, because you see a lot of these podcasts and a lot of these people are afraid to have kind of narrative to the pro stablecoin sort of concept, which, really what stablecoins are tokenized US debt. And if we're supposed to end fiat, and Bitcoin has this opportunity to replace settlement networks and replace the treasury market as a reserve asset, you can argue if it can replace the dollar as a currency, but it certainly can replace treasuries as a reserve asset. But we have basically every single paid talking head in Bitcoin coming out and saying, I'm really impressed by stablecoin issuers, passion for banking the unbanked. And it's just like, well, no, what they're really doing is buying up the biggest terrorist organization in the world's debt. And they're perpetuating dollarization, which the U.S. Treasury market has been used as a financial tool to inflict financial terrorism on the global South. And now you're claiming that, actually, now we have this private sector company coming in that now has access to all the data, all of your purchasing data. You're down in South America. Everybody loves Tether. They love it. They love it so much. And I empathize and sympathize. But what are we really pushing them towards? We're pushing them towards intelligence-linked private sector companies that can blacklist and sell your financial data, at a whim. Not even do they have to sell your financial data. It's just available on the blockchain. And if they have any sort of nation state capability of data harvesting, they can sweep the blockchain and basically triangulate any purchasing identity, using chain analysis tools, which again, literally Chain Analysis, the company, is an In-Q-Tel sponsored company. It's a CAA sponsored company. So, here we are, the Bitcoin space, the consent has really been purchased to this financial freedom element. Well, it's financial freedom for everybody, including the CIA. And that doesn't mean that I think we should throw away Bitcoin or throw away the ability to have trustless, unstoppable, no trusted third party settlement. That's obviously a state change of money, not to mention the monetary policy. There is so much that I still love about Bitcoin and think is a state change for humanity. But what we do next is extremely important. And you can't know what to do next if you don't understand the scope of what's going on here. And when you look at some of the work that Whitney's done, and you look at this group, this cabal of organized crime that has infiltrated the public sector and has infiltrated private banking, and you see what they've done with backdoors and the way that they've built out this panopticon from a hardware and a software standpoint, that has extreme implications on how a Bitcoin system could work and the freedom that actually could come from it.
Hey, do you still have your Bitcoin on an exchange? Don't hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. Take it into self-custody. If you're looking for an easy way to do that, we have the BitKey. BitKey is Bitcoin made easy to use and hard to lose. Take the first step. Get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Check out the link in the show notes. That'll get you 20% off your BitKey, or use the code TFTC20 at checkout.